Okay, so I'm going to share the slides. There we go. Can you see them okay? Okay, I'm going to get started then. So this is academic writing skills. So this is learning outcome 2. So to produce a written response in an appropriate format. So this will cover today how to write an appropriate response and the format that you need to consider when you are doing an assignment. So I think we'll go back to I want to show you the actual assignment again, just as a reminder. So this is the assignment that you'll have to submit in a couple of weeks. And this is the assignment brief, which is made up of 2 different parts, part A and part B. And these are the different learning outcomes that you need to be able to demonstrate. Oh, hello, have you got, is it Stella?
Yeah.
Hi, Stella, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm good, thank you. My name's Emma Honeyford.
Okay.
So I'll be delivering the session today on academic writing skills. You weren't on yesterday, were you? So no. So I don't know if you want to introduce yourself or do you want me to carry on?
No, you can carry on.
Sure. Okay, thank you. So yes, as I said just before, the session today is all around academic writing skills, but I just wanted to make sure that you were all aware of the actual assignment, which is academic writing skills, which is due to be submitted in 2 weeks after we've covered all the different modules over the next couple of sessions. So this assignment will be made up of 2 different parts. So the first part is to draw up a plan for a written response to a question. And the second part is to provide a written logical response. So I just want to show you how it's broken down so you can have this in your mind as we go through the learning material. So the part A is to draw up a plan for a written response to a question. And it's broken down into different sections. And then you've got part B. And then you will have to demonstrate. So if you see the different numbers within the different parts, so for example, interpret the meaning on part A, interpret the meaning and implication of the question. That is, you need to demonstrate if you connect the AC 1.2, which is the assessment criteria down here, you need to be able to demonstrate within your answer that you have addressed this, that you can identify appropriate terms and concepts. So just a reminder, just wanted to break it down. If you have any more questions, you can email after the session to the learner support email address. But we had a question around this yesterday, so just wanted to make sure everybody was clear. Stella, does that make sense for you? Stella?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, great. I'll carry on then.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to share the slides now. Okay, so this is academic writing skills. So the learning outcome of today is to understand how to produce a written response. Can everybody see that? Can you see that slide okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, great, okay. So to produce a written response in an appropriate format. Okay, so when planning a written response to kind of any question or assignment at an academic level, you need to really consider the question carefully and the conclusion required, with 3 or 4 key points that you can focus on specifically that will support your argument. So for each point, you need to identify 1 or 2 examples from research to support the point. So that may be from academic journals, from books that you may be able to access via Moodle, Note words or phrases that would be useful at each stage, and note the sources used so they can be acknowledged. So every source that you use, you will need to reference. And the previous session that we did yesterday, Stella, outlines the Harvard referencing system that you need to be aware of. So maybe it's something to look at after this today session, Harvard referencing system. But again, you can refer back to Moodle. So you'll need to be able to write a coherent and logical response once a plan is in place and the requirements of the question have been analysed. So again, going back to yesterday, understanding the question is key to what you need to do and how you need to answer the question. And once you know, break the question down and you know what is required, you can then build a plan to respond. So the learner should be able to ensure that there is a strong introduction, which sets out clearly what you will cover. So I don't know how you may like to work, but in the past, I've maybe looked at doing the introduction last because I've done the piece of work and then I can then summarise what I will be going to talk about in the introduction. So it's good to begin to structure the key points in a really logical way and ensure that each point furthers the argument or discussion that supports what you are presenting, the argument you're presenting. So you need to use a format appropriate. And it depends who the audience is as well, as to which format you do use. There's different types of formats. Okay, the next slide is, I think it's a video. Let me have a look. Can you see this, Stella?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm just going to play a short video. Okay, so we'll move on to the next part now. Hope that was clear. Okay, so back to the slides. So as the video showed there, some of those the C's of communication. There's now a checklist below. So we've got clear. So it's really important when you're doing any piece of work at this level to make the objectives clear, to avoid complex words and phrases, to be concise, to keep it clear and to the point, avoid filler words and sentences. So don't put anything in the text that's unnecessary. Make sure it has value. Another C is to be concrete, be really specific about the ideas that you have. Try not to be, don't be vague. And it's really important to be factual and use facts and figures to support any message that you're trying to get across. Correct, try to avoid typos, use correct facts and figures, and use the right level of language. Coherent. Does your message make sense? Ensure it does flow logically. Complete. Does the message contain everything it needs to? Include a call to action. So have the things that you've covered really got to the bottom of what you wanted to cover in a clear way, complete way? And then being courteous. So being polite builds goodwill and ensure the message is tactful. So it's all about the delivery of the message sometimes. Being tactful and polite will help deliver the message. Okay, so now to move on to the next slide. So it's really important that when you are answering a specific question to write a really detailed plan. It will really help if you break it down before you actually answer. So when you have been given a question to answer, often the most difficult task is working out how to get started. And it is. There's nothing worse when you get a question and you have to, really break it down and think about what you're going to say. So it is really good to do like a mind map to get all your ideas out, to brainstorm, and then you can start to plan and make connections. So we've already gone over how to interpret the instructions that was in yesterday's session for answering a question and the meaning of a question. You now need to turn that into a plan. So during the planning stage, you need to keep a number of key concepts in your mind. It'd be good to make some notes of this as well if you do have a pen and paper to hand. So these are the conventions for academic writing. They're known as the 5 C's. So cohesion, clarity, consistency, concisiveness, and completeness. So your answer should easily move from one paragraph or concept to the next. It should be clear. The answer should be written in clear language that's readable. Consistency, the answer should be written in the same style throughout. So to keep it a consistent tone. So in note form or in prose form, but not both. So keep it consistent. And conciseness, so the language used should convey the meaning in as few well-used words as possible. So try not to be too repetitive in your ideas that you are delivering in the answer. And then you have completeness. So include all relevant information in your answer. The answer should follow a logical pattern and provide a logical argument. Okay, so anybody have any questions so far? Okay, I'll carry on. So planning section. So most academics will require the following components. So you've got an introduction, the main body, and a conclusion. Subjects differ in the way in which essays are developed and arguments constructed. However, the information below is multidisciplinary and it applies across most subject areas for the most part. So you'll have an introduction, your main body, and then a conclusion. So the introduction, as I alluded to earlier, will specifically address the question and explain the argument that you're going to present. That will be quite brief. The next bit of the main body, here you'll describe, define, and develop your argument. This section will be made up of several paragraphs, and you will need to plan the theme of each paragraph carefully and make sure you present your answer in a logical order. And then within the plan, that will then lead to the answer, the question being answered in a logical way. So the conclusion. Here you'll summarise the main points and explain how the arguments and evidence answer the question. So it's important at this point to show what evidence you have and why you feel like you've answered the question, to what extent you do feel you've answered the question with the arguments and evidence that you have used within the assignment. So this is a great example of how, if you do get stuck on a question, using a spidergram, I've used these before. Life is chaotic, life is difficult. So sometimes, you want to get 10 minutes to kind of start to think about answering a question. If you've got a busy day, You can always sit there, a quick 10-minute spidergram, and just put all your ideas onto a piece of paper, and then you can always come back to it. That's how I've approached in the past. So this is a spidergram, and you'll see you've got your general question at the centre, and then it will kind of branch off into your ideas, and then the other sub ideas, and you can start to make connections between the different ideas. So it's a good visual way to look at it and to make sense of what's going on within your head around the different ideas. So spidergrams are a useful way of gathering together your ideas when answering a question. A spidergram is a planning tool. So remember, it's a planning tool. This is just a way to plan that helps you to group information and ideas so that you have a rough outline of how you want your answer to look and what you want it to contain before you start to write. So that this is a great example here. Okay, so here's a great working example within an example of a GP surgery. So the question is to use the plan to write a coherent and logical response to the specific question. So this is an assignment question. So describe the possible implications a diagnosis of hypertension would have on a patient attending their GP surgery. So you'll see within the spider diagram, they've put the question at the centre, and then they've broken it down into an introduction to the left, which then is broken down into the two areas. So information about the relevant conditions, treatments and implications, and then the key terms to define. So that will then discuss in the introduction which terms you will be going to talk about within the essay. And then you've got your conclusions. I'll go to that next, sorry. The main body after the introduction. So you'll see what that needs to talk about. So you evaluate the implications. What effects do you need to discuss? Any positive or negative effects? And then your conclusions, which you will provide an answer to the question without repeating yourself from the introduction and main body. So the conclusion needs to be new. It doesn't need to present any new arguments. It needs to mostly evaluate those arguments that you have previously spoken about. And then you've got your references at the bottom. So you've acknowledged all your sources, any examples that you've given, and that really gives, that gives it scientific rigor, because it shows that you have, used proper theoretical examples and backed that up with your references. Okay, so the next section. Did that make sense, guys? Stella, did you find that helpful, the spider diagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the next section is around presenting the response in an appropriate format. So obviously you have your spider diagram. So then you can, once you've done the spider diagram, that you can then transfer that into a document where you have it written in an essay structure. So we'll use this example again. So describe the possible implications a diagnosis of hypertension would have on a patient attending their GP surgery. So this breaks it down again. So you have your introduction. So here within the introduction, you're going to set the scene. You're going to talk about and explain the term hypertension at a high level. And then you can go into specifics, and you can then explain the incidence of hypertension in the UK. You can explain how many people are treated for hypertension in the UK by their GPs. So you're given the data, you're given the numbers. And then you can explain what the treatment for hypertension can entail and what the long-term implications of non-treatment are. So what is the risk of not having any treatment? So after the introduction, you'll go into the main body. So you can go right into the details of the impact the diagnosis could have on the patient. So you have positive versus negative, so you can show both sides. So positive allows the patient to have a diagnosis and have the reassurance of being treated. Another positive allows the GP to explain the implications for the patient and allay any inaccurate assumptions. So a potential negative impact could be that it could cause depression at the diagnosis of a chronic disease. It could be really triggering for the patient and give them a negative feeling. So I think it's important to show the different impacts and how a patient may feel. So effects on the individual versus effects on the patient's wider family social circle. So you could talk about the impacts on family life, changes that may be required in smoking, eating, and drinking habits. That could be like a massive change, a massive behavioural change that the patient needs to undertake. They may feel overwhelmed. It could be a worry for the rest of the family, for parents, for children. And the need to take regular lifelong medications and start an exercise program with the family. So it does have implications for the wider family as well. The next section, obviously, is the conclusion. So here we'll summarise the previous paragraphs and give our opinion about whether this would be a positive or negative experience, and even give suggestions about how the patient experience could be improved with real life examples. So it could be both. It could be positive and negative. There are different ideas. There could be some positive elements that, with the right support, this could lead to wider changes to the health long term. Or initially, it could be a negative experience. So I think it's important to show the different potential outcomes and impacts. And the next section is the reference list. So any references or journals or books that you've read, you need to reference those after the conclusion. Yeah, and it's really important just to reiterate that you do not use the work of others and you don't directly copy and pass it off as your own work. It is called plagiarism and it's not acceptable. And it does get picked up. So just to let you know, and it can, the way with AI at the moment, it can easily be done, but you just got to be really mindful that it is picked up. So if you're going to do a direct quote, you do need to make sure it's in quotation marks and check out the Harvard referencing system so you understand how to reference properly. Again, if you do have any questions, you can email the Learn Support email to help with that. And here's a few references that have been used for these slides, if you want to have a look at those. So that comes to the end of the slides. So here is I'm going to set some homework for next week, just to do some reading. So it's this link, these two links just down here. So have a read of those activities. I'll have a look at them now, actually. So it'd be good when you do get time to have a read over these, to get reacquainted. That will help deepen your understanding through that reading. So that link, and then this next link is all around planning your writing, which will be really helpful. This is the foundation of any coursework that you have to do. So it's just really important that you understand how to make a plan, because your plan means everything. It will help when you do actually come to answer. It'll be broken down and be easier for you to put your ideas and present your ideas in a more coherent way. Okay, so that's everything. Does anybody have any questions? Stella, any questions?
For now, no question.
Okay. Did that make sense? Did you understand?
I do.
Yeah. And Latifa too, are you okay with all of that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I know I'm conscious I speak quite fast, so please do stop if you need me to. Is there anything else you want me to go back to on the slides? I'm happy to go back if there's anything that you don't quite understand, if I need to explain a bit better. Anything? Are you all okay? Okay, I'll take that as a yes then. Okay, well that's all for today. So can you access Moodle, both of you? Are you both able to get onto Moodle? So you can access these links to do some reading between now and next weekend?
All right.
Yeah?
We'll do our best.
Say again, sorry.
I said we will do our best.
Okay, well, if you have any problems, just please do email.
Excuse me, please.
Yeah?
Are you sharing the brief on on our WhatsApp group?
Yeah, I'm just understanding how to do it. I'll do it today. I wanted to wait until I got this session out of the way, for the weekend, and then I'll put the assignment brief onto WhatsApp. Yeah?
All right.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, any questions, just do please kindly email at learnerwork@ukversity.co.uk, and I will put the learning outcomes that you need to make sure that will really help you answer the question, to be aware of those as well. So I'll share that on the WhatsApp group as well. But I hope you both have a lovely day, and I'll see you both very soon. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good
Thank
week.
you.
Oh,
Thank
Nancy's
you
there. I
so
didn't see
much.
Nancy there. Sorry,
Thank
Nancy.
you.
Hi.
It's all right. Thank
you
you.
Are you okay with all of that?
Yeah, everything is fine. Yeah.
Okay, right. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah. Any questions? You can put in a WhatsApp group as well. That's fine. If they don't get back to you straight away, we'll try to. But yeah, do that bit of reading. It will really help when you're answering the question.
Okay.
Okay. Have a good week.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.